In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an ImgBB account so that you'll be able to upload images so you'll get a public URL so you can use it for other services that require it, such as APITemplate. Now, as you can see on the screen, it does show some pro accounts, but you don't need it for what we're going to be using it for. You can see ImgB is a free image hosting service. As long as your image is under 32 megabytes, you should be good to go to use this service. So if you haven't created an account already, go ahead and choose create an account. Again, it's free, so not going to hurt anything. I already have one, so I'm just going to sign in. Okay, once you sign in, you'll see a dashboard like this. At the top left, we want to choose About and then API. So by default, you won't have an API key. We'll get that in a moment. But what I want to show you is actually how to set up the HTTP request to send the information over here first, and a little trick to deal with that in n8n. Down here under example call, we actually want to copy this curl command. Now we're not going to actually be using the curl command, but I'll show you a neat trick in n8n to have the HTTP request update accordingly. So if we go back to n8n, I'm going to be picking up where I was on a previous video where I showed you how to use APITemplate in a workflow where I gathered information from Google Sheets, just so I don't have to redo these nodes. So in this example, I'm going to show you how to use an n8n form to allow a user to upload an image to then create a public URL with ImgBB and then create an API image template image with that public URL. The one quote-unquote drawback of doing it as the local host, like I am right now, I cannot provide this URL to somebody else to do. If you're using the n8n cloud, you'll be able to do this just fine. So we come into here, go into form, click on n8n form, and then under the trigger, choose the only trigger. And then for the title, I'm just going to say demo form, but you can make it whatever you want. Under form elements, choose add form elements, then put a field name. So this is kind of like your reference, but it will also show up on the form. So I'm just going to say quotes. Make sure the element type is text. You can put a placeholder if you want, it's not necessary. Add form element for another one and then say image. And then for the element type, choose file. The accepted file types here, we want to choose the type of file. So if it's a PNG or a TIFF or JPEG, whatever, you want to put in the file type. Okay, so in here, we're going to put in .jpeg, .png, .jpg. And then if we run the execute step, you'll get a new pop-up with the form. So I'm just going to put test, choose a file, choose my profile picture, open. You may need to wait a moment until this changes from no file chosen to the name of your file. It sometimes takes a few seconds, but there it goes. And hit submit. Once you do, you can close out of this window. And now you'll see in n8n, you now have this binary option, which is the binary information of that image that we just uploaded. So again, this is just in n8n. This didn't go anywhere else yet. So now that we actually have the data for the image, we then need to upload it to that ImgBB. So click on the plus here and search for HTTP request. And then in here, we want to choose this import curl. And this is where we're going to put in that curl command. So if you lost it, go up to ImgB website again. Under the example curl, or example call, copy this, paste it into here, and then import. And then it will automatically fill in all these forms for us. Now, one thing I want to show you here, if you left this alone and put in your actual API key, whatever you put in is going to be visible for anyone that you potentially share this with or back it up or whatever the case may be. Alternatively, what you want to do is actually store this as a credential inside n8n, so it's more secure. So we want to delete this part by hitting the little trash can here. Then under authentication, we want to choose generic credential type. And under the generic auth type, we want to choose query auth. And the reason we're doing that is because originally query was where it was. So sometimes it's in the header, which you'll see if, for example, under the API templates HTTP request, the curl command has a -h, letting you know that this part would have been in the header if we actually had to use it that way. But in our example, we're using the query because it was initially under the query auth. So I just want to explain that. For the query auth, we want to choose create new credential. And then you want to name this because otherwise you will have no idea what it is. So I already have one, but I'm going to say ImgBB2. For the name, you want to put in what it had as the key before. So if we go back, under here it had key. So sometimes it'll say bearer or just API, whatever, but in this case it's key equals, and then we're going to put in our API key. But so you can either copy or paste this or just type it in, but it's all lowercase, K-E-Y. Put that as the name, and then under the value, delete whatever's in there, go back and get API key at the top, copy this, then go back to n8n, paste that in here. Now hit save. So now it'll be saved as this, whatever you named it, inside this dropdown from now on. So you won't need to remember it and type it in, yada, yada, yada. So it'll just be as a dropdown. Okay, and then next, this expiration, I would recommend just leaving it as 600. So that way it expires after 10 minutes. It's up to you, but chances are you probably don't want these images just floating around out there. Under send body, we want to choose form data. And then under parameter type, change this to n8n binary files. Now the name is what the website is expecting. So under this curl command, you see this image. So this is what we got to put in. It's all lowercase. That's very important. It needs to be the exact same as the website is expecting. Under the input data field name, this is actually what you put in. Capital I, in this case, is what mine is, but whatever's in red is what you put in down here. And when you execute the step, it's then going to give you the JSON information and give you a public URL that you can then use elsewhere. So if we were to then add these back into here, so I'm just copying and pasting them. We're able to modify them a little bit, but drag this over to here. Open up this create image. For the value, if you remember, this is the text quote. So I'm going to go back to the form and then choose quote and just drag that in. And then for the background source, or SRC, delete whatever's in there, and then drag over the URL that we just got from the previous node. And now that will generate. So the last thing we want to do is actually go and upload this URL that this API template is going to generate to the Google Sheets that I had set up before, but onto a different sheet. So we double click on this. It's going to be a little messy. It's okay. We'll change it. First thing you want to do though is go back to your Google Sheets, wherever you're storing these, create a new sheet down here at the bottom, which you can just hit the little plus. And then I already had a form submissions, image URL is what we're looking for, and just the remaining for quality of life kind of video, so you know how many you have left. We go back to n8n and make sure you're logged in with the same Google account that you just set up, or you're using for the Google Sheets, I should say. And then instead of operation update row, we're going to append row. And make sure the document is the same as you're expecting. And for the sheet, we want to choose form submission and map each manually. For the image URL, we're going to end up using the image that was generated previously, as well as the remaining. So in this case, since I copied it, it's going to be the same thing, but I have a 1 at the end. And the reason I know that is here. So the name is just slightly different. It's image 1 as opposed to just create image. So with me just copy and paste that, I'm able to just modify just that number at the end. So that way we know it'll work. But let's go ahead and try it, see if it works. We hit execute workflow, wait for a moment for it to finish. And once it's in there and you got the little X, you know it's there. Hit submit. It's then going to do its thing. Let's create the image, get the account information. So the reason this one worked, I didn't have to change the name, is because I'm just using the JSON. So whenever you see just the JSON, it grabs whatever the last node in the chain was. So in this case, I didn't have to rename it. It worked. Okay, so now you see you got the image URL. If we go back to our sheet, we click on that, we should now have my picture, and thanks for watching. I did modify the image a little bit, so it was just the text in the background. So that is how you can do it through an n8n form. Next, I was going to show you how to do it if you had the images stored in your Google Drive and you didn't necessarily want to share the images. We can come into n8n and actually do a couple nodes to get that information downloaded into n8n, so then we can upload it to ImgBB and then create the image again. So if we go under here and do a search for files and folders, then search and then search query. So previously in your workflow, maybe you put in like the user's name or the image name or whatever. I literally just put my profile picture under a images folder and then named it profile picture on Google. A different file, but it's the same it's me. So we're going to put in profile. So once you do the search query, it'll then respond with the ID. The ID is what we actually need to use to get the information to download the right file. So that is what we're going to be using. We then choose another drive and choose download a file. We can then get the by ID, drag this over, and if we execute this step, we'll then have a data, binary image data. So essentially we could copy this one again, paste it here, and then we would have to modify this bottom part here, the input data, to match, remember, the red name here, so data. If we execute this, it will now show us a new URL, and you can tell the title is different on Google. So we know for sure it was the name of the file that we got from Google Drive. And then once you have this public URL, you can then proceed to do whatever you want to do with it, tie it back into here, proceed through. Now you may be wondering what happens to the images once we put them on the ImgBB website, which is a valid concern. If you head back to the ImgBB account and sign in again, you will now see a list of all your images that you may have uploaded here. If you want to just delete them now instead of letting them expire, you can do it one by one. Just hit the little delete button, or you have this option at the top right, select all, and then delete. Then are you sure you really want to remove it? Say confirm, and poof, now it's gone. So if you're concerned about it being out there, you don't want it to be anymore, that's one way to make sure that it's deleted for sure. The other thing, if we did want to use this outside the testing area, you would need to switch this over to production URL, which again, it's still a local host in my case, but this way you wouldn't have to come in here and manually hit that execute work step every time. You could copy this URL, which it already did for me. When you create a new window, if the workflow isn't set up to be running automatically, you're going to get this message. We come back over here, hit save, and then activate it. And if we come back here, refresh, now we'll have this option. We can say, again, you have to wait for it to finish doing its thing, otherwise it's going to ding at you. And hit submit. Now it's going to do its thing. We go back over to here. We should see it pop up as a new image in any moment now. And there it is. So we click on that. Click on the URL it created. Please like and subscribe. So those are a couple different ways you can use to get an image to a public URL without having your own website and whatnot. There will be a link in the description for a JSON file that has this workflow, all these here that you see on the screen, so you can always come back and reference it. If you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please leave them in there as well. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.